Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Easter. I got a special one for you. This is actually breaking news from Florida Bulldog. Who else? Dan Christensen, once again, delivering the goods. One of the best 9/11 reporters in the United States regarding Saudi involvement with the attacks. And in this article, it states the following: ex-FBI agents accused top CIA FBI officials of 9/11 cover-up. CIA said to use Saudis, others for illegal domestic spy operations. Thank you, Darren Harvey, a co-9/11 researcher and uh, author of a couple of articles now, which could be seen on DJ Throw and Detonator's website. Now, I'm going to be doing a read along with you regarding this article. And what I want to say right off the bat is that we have information regarding Saudi intelligence, and this is coming from the Operation Encore files. And what I want to bring to your attention is that the information is not going to be repeated like it was from Operation Encore. A lot of the information in this article is from the Encore files, but there is some information that is rather new. And in fact, this is going to come from somebody who was in the Office of Military Commissions named Donald Canestraro. Um, he was part of the Department of Defense Military Commission's defense organization. And this document that he gave, this testimony that he gave, is going to be really illuminating. So what I'm going to do is basically share the screen, and we're going to do a read along without my face over here so you can read the whole thing. And you can see weeks before 9/11, an angry New York FBI agent nearly came over the table at CIA officials who were blocking him from obtaining intelligence about two al-Qaeda terrorists who would soon take part in hijacking an American Airlines passenger jet and crashing it into the Pentagon. This FBI agent is going to be Steve Bongart, actually. Someone is going to die, the counterterrorism agent wrote in a bitter email shortly after the 2001 encounter. That astonishing account and many others are contained in a sworn declaration by Donald Canestraro, an investigator for the Office of Military Commissions, part of the Department of Defense's Military Commissions Defense Organization, and it is dated July 20th, 2001. And what I want to show real quick is the document itself. So this is the document in question here. It's a long document, it's 22 pages. And as you can see here, it's the declaration of Donald C. Canestraro. I'm not going to read the 22 pages. What I am going to do for future videos following this one, I might be doing this starting tomorrow, is that this goes by a number of 9/11 commission officials and FBI agents, whistleblowers, who are named in a confidential source. We don't know their names, but if I can go by the information in here, I'll know who it is. But most likely, I'm not going to know some of these people who are talking about. So I'll start doing that tomorrow. So I'll be reading it from stage, like they'll name CS1, CS2, CS3, and we'll go by that. I'll do it in 3 stages, so that would be like around 6-7 pages a day, and then we'll learn something new. But the summary is actually the article that I'm reading to you now. Let's go back to it. Canestraro said in a brief interview with Florida Bulldog that he is part of the defense team for Guantanamo detainee Omar al-Baluchi, a Pakistani citizen who was awaiting trial with 4 other men accused of planning the 9/11 attacks. His declaration includes the results of his interviews with 11 ex-FBI agents, 2 ex-CIA agents, a CNN investigative journalist, the former deputy of the National Security Advisor Richard Clarke, and former Senator Bob Graham, the co-chair of the Joint Inquiry into 9/11. The 22-page declaration, first obtained by the national security website Spy Talk, is not confidential, but rather it's marked CUI, Controlled Unclassified Information. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency defines CUI as government-created or owned information that requires safeguarding or dissemination controls consistent with applicable laws, regulations, and government-wide policies. It is nevertheless remarkable for its accounts supporting the veracity of long public yet highly disturbing allegations that top CIA officials, including Director George Tenet, intentionally withheld vital intelligence from the FBI that might have prevented the September 11, 2001 al-Qaeda attacks on New York and Washington. Specifically, that known operatives and future hijackers, Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar, had entered the United States in Los Angeles shortly after attending an al-Qaeda summit meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in early January of 2000. The new accounts, mostly obtained during interviews in 2016 and 2018, flesh out the narrative. They also support the ominous theory, never fully explored by either the 9/11 Commission or Congress, that the CIA kept silent because it was secretly working hand in glove with its Saudi Arabian counterpart to recruit al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar as informants. Now, I do know about the claim, the CIA claim that they were going to turn Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar into informants. But what was not known to me was that Saudi Arabia was trying to do the same thing. Now, this leads me to believe either one of the two is the following: that the CIA and the Saudi intelligence, the General Intelligence Directorate, the GID, with a Muhammad, are actually working together in trying to turn Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar into informants. Or was the Saudi intelligence and CIA agency working separately, but knowledgeable of one another about trying to turn Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar into informants? Now, if that was the case, the CIA basically was hoping to have faith that the Saudis would give them all the intelligence that they collected on their side. Now, for those who are saying, well, what about Israel? Well, this is not concerning Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. We don't know if there was Israeli intelligence monitoring Tuesday. We do know is that they were on the East Coast and Southwest. We know that from the Gerald Shea memo, and we also know it from the redacted FBI reports about the dancing Israelis, right? But this art student ring basically is known by the FBI and arrest reports from Dallas, Florida, New Jersey, New York, Oklahoma, and other states, right? So this article is not about the Israeli intelligence ring monitoring the Hamburg cell. We don't have much in the way of real information besides the documentary evidence of the Gerald Shea memo. So it's very taboo, by the way. You have to be very careful if we are to investigate the Israelis for their role in the same, in a similar fashion with the Saudis, that they were collecting counterintelligence information, signals, and human intelligence about al-Qaeda operatives and their affiliates in the years 2000 and 2001. But we have more information about the Saudis, and we have names that go along with it than we do with the Israelis. So I'm not negating the Israeli intelligence ring. I happen to be very careful, because you'll be labeled an anti-Semite and you'll be, marked for the rest of your life. So I try to be very careful with information. And let's continue. Except for Clark and Graham, the people interviewed are not named or identified by gender because they spoke on condition of anonymity. Now, Canestraro states that he knows who they are, and he declined to identify them to Florida Bulldog. Enough descriptive information is provided in text, however, that it's possible to identify several interviewees. I'll be doing that in the days coming. I'll try my best to see who is which agent or which congressman or which person is speaking. The unredacted declaration is remarkable for another reason. It comes from litigation in the U.S. military court at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, where government censors routinely scrub and or withhold court filings and transcripts in the name of national security. Now, we've had a number of people like Carol Rosenberg of the New York Times, Mark Fallon, Alka Pradhan, who are basically on the ground or getting information from Guantanamo. And these are the three best. I mentioned them yesterday in the 2 days ago in a video I did. And so I think I mentioned them in the podcast. But yeah, I mean, these are the best right now in the world when it comes to information from Guantanamo Bay. And they are getting their information checked by the military there, who are keeping the Guantanamo Five, Amr al-Baluchi, named in the report here, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Ramzi bin al-Shib, Tawfiq bin Atash, and Mustafa al-Hawsawi, who are all looking at the death penalty, in which the government right now, under the Biden administration, is currently trying to work out a deal. They'll take the death penalty off the table if they all plead guilty to every single charge relating to 9/11 attacks. Now, go back to the article. According to his declaration, Canestraro was a DEA agent for 21 years when he joined the Office of Military Commissions in April 2016. During July of 2016, I began an investigation into the possible involvement of the Saudi Arabian government and the Central Intelligence Agency in the events leading up to 9/11 attacks. Canestraro's initial review of discovery documents provided by the government to the defense focused on Omar al-Bayoumi and Fahad al-Tameri, two people prominently named in the Operation Encore files. If you want to know more, please, in the search bar on my channel, look for those names and they'll come up. Or better yet, look up Operation Encore and you'll see the updated information as it came out. Bayoumi was an apparent Saudi intelligence officer who had numerous contacts with Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar and helped them obtain an apartment in San Diego. Fahad al-Tameri was a Saudi consular official in Los Angeles and a local religious leader. That's Fahad al-Tameri. That's Omar al-Bayoumi. Bayoumi, Tameri, and a third man, Muhammad al-Jar, a key person in all this, because Jar is considered the main contact between Tameri and Bayoumi. He was the deputy head of Islamic affairs at the Saudi embassy in Washington, are named as principal subjects of the FBI's Operation Encore, a once-secret FBI probe into Saudi government involvement, first made public in an October 2012 FBI report obtained by Florida Bulldog and the Freedom of Information Act litigation in 2016. The report says Jara tasked Bayoumi and Tameri with helping the hijackers. And like I said, if you want to know more, please go to my channel, type in Operation Encore. Those videos will come up and they'll better explain about Muhammad al-Jara and his associates that came with them in San Diego, in which they knew about the arrival of Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar before the Malaysia summit meeting even began. And that's coming from an FBI confidential source, and I show you the documents. So please see those videos. In September 2021, President Biden issued an executive order directing the Department of Justice and other federal agencies to conduct the classification reviews of documents regarding Operation Encore, referred to in the order as a subfile of the FBI's primary pent bomb investigation, and to publicly release as many documents as possible. The FBI has released thousands of pages so far, including records previously declared to be state secrets that say Saudi government officials knowingly provided supply network of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, the first two al-Qaeda hijackers to enter the U.S. Canestraro's client, Amr al-Baluchi, you can see here, also known as Ali Abdul Aziz Ali, is the nephew of co-defendant Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the alleged mastermind behind 9/11. Government documents allege that from banks in Dubai, he transferred tens of thousands of dollars to a SunTrust bank account in Florida, jointly owned by 9/11 hijackers Marwan al-Shehi and Mohammed Atta. Atta flew American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Shehi was at the commands of the United Airlines Flight 175 when the Boeing 767 crashed into the South Tower. Baluchi, like Mohammed, was captured in Pakistan in 2003 and held by the CIA for 3 years at overseas black sites, where he was reportedly tortured before being transferred to Guantanamo in 2006. He, Mohammed, and 3 others, Walid bin Attash, also known as Tawfiq bin Attash, Khalid, Ramzi bin al-Shib, and Mustafa Ahmed al-Hawsawi, all face capital charges, and the government has previously said it would seek the death penalty. No trial date has been set. And I just did a video about the updates regarding Guantanamo. That's when I mentioned Mark Fallon, Carol Rosenberg, and it actually comes from a Carol Rosenberg article on the New York Times about the trial dates that were postponed for the month of May. And now we'll see if they come up with the June hearing and see if those were canceled in the month of May, the whole month. These people don't want the trial to start. They just don't. The CIA's lack of cooperation with the FBI is discussed in detail in the declaration. One ex-FBI agent who worked under CIA control at the Osama Bin Laden station, also known as Alex Station, discussed how a colleague had prepared a central intelligence report outlining the possible presence of Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar in the U.S., but was not allowed to forward it to the FBI fraction. Those 2 agents are Doug Miller, who actually read that cable and was preparing the draft, the Central Intelligence Report. And the other person that's named, that is talking about right here, is Mark Rossini. They both worked out of New York, counterintelligence, and I've interviewed Mark Rossini, who's one of the better whistleblowers of our time. 2 former FBI agents stated that the CIA even spied on the FBI as it investigated 9/11. Wow. I mean, we knew about this when Tom Wilshire, who's the deputy director of Alex Station, went to join the FBI in Washington, D.C. in the investigation of the USS Cole bombing. Why? According to Wilshire, it said that they wanted the CIA and the NSA, the CIA and the FBI, to work together about exchanging information. And because the FBI was on loan with the CIA, the Alex Station, well, it's only fitting that a high-ranking CIA official like Tom Wilshire works with the FBI. But I've always speculated that the reason why he went there, and the reason why the CIA also inquired in those June and July meetings in 2001 with the FBI, was to fish the FBI to see what they knew. Well, with Tom Wilshire actually there, he was there to spy on the FBI. That's not known. That's my speculation. And it's not unreasonable. Canestraro's declaration says that in the spring of 2021, a former agent with extensive experience in terrorism and counterintelligence matters explained that after the attacks, it became impossible for the FBI to unilaterally conduct a terrorism or counterintelligence investigation without the tacit approval of the CIA. CS-22 further related that officers of the local CIA domestic station located in his or her office of assignment would frequently sit in the command centers of the local FBI field offices while FBI agents conducted operations related to counterterrorism to monitor FBI activities. CS-22 told me that the above made it easy for CIA officers to monitor FBI activities. Now, why would they do that? That has nothing to do with turning Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi into informants. That's why this document is so damning, because it shows that the CIA was intuitively interfering with the investigation or trying to obtain information from the FBI without asking them. Why would they do that? Let's continue. Another FBI agent known as CS8 said that immediately following the 9/11 attacks, an intelligence officer was detailed to the FBI San Diego field office. CS8 recalled that the officer was supposed to be assigned to the San Diego office to further information sharing between the FBI and the CIA. However, CS8 later learned the officer was actually examining FBI files in an attempt to blame the FBI for the intelligence failures that led to 9/11. Wow. How about that? So, the CIA, according to that statement, the CIA in the year 2001 was actively in states like Washington, in cities like Washington, D.C., San Diego, and basically trying to obtain information from the FBI in the hopes that one, they could just collect the FBI's information without asking for it, and two, to later, when the attacks happen, they can blame the FBI for not stopping or sharing this information. That's what I'm getting from this. And anybody else who's watching this video and you have thoughts of your own, please comment. Because your comments and your thoughts are always crucial. Let's continue. The ex-New York FBI counterterrorism agent who tussled with the CIA referred to the declaration as CS-12 was assigned to work the bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen in the summer of 2001. Tom Wilshire, CIA. That June, CS-12 was present during a meeting between CIA and FBI officials. The CIA was said to have sought the meeting after being unable to locate some terrorist suspects. Now, for those who don't know, or those who are in the know and forgetting, the CIA, who were monitoring Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi in Malaysia, with Malaysian authorities acting as human intelligence, were getting information from Malaysia to the Counterterrorism Center and to the Alex Station. And when they were coming to the United States, and meanwhile, the CIA knew that these two men were coming to the United States because they had a U.S. visa and they photographed their passports while they stayed at a hotel. That's one story. The CIA claims at a principals meeting that when they traveled to Bangkok to connect to the United States, they lost track of them. Now, here's my speculation. Again, the CIA cannot work inside the United States by law. So that would mean that they need the Saudis conduct operations on behalf of the CIA in the hopes that the Saudis will be forthcoming 100% in sharing information. This is the reason why I mentioned that before, right? So with that in mind, the CIA is actually having faith that the Saudis would basically give them all the information that they needed. Did they? We won't know, because when the 9/11 Commission interviewed people like Fahad al-Tamari, Omar al-Bayoumi, they weren't very forthcoming. Do you think they're going to be forthcoming now? Just imagine with the Israelis. There was a lot more of them. Maybe that'll come out in the future. So the CIA basically was playing a very dangerous game here. And I think this is the reason, another reason why they basically just lied about this straight up in the 9/11 Commission and Joint House Inquiry. Because imagine if the federal government actually had the information that the CIA withheld information from the FBI, and Carl Levin was the only congressman to acknowledge this at the Joint Inquiry. He was that close. Well, no one, everyone else wasn't. They were all far away. That should have been enough. Let's continue. CS5, another former FBI special agent, said the New York agent was so adamant that the CIA provide information for his or her investigation that she nearly came over the table at CIA officials at a meeting with the FBI counterterrorism squad prior to 9/11, the declaration says. Like I said, the CS5 is Steve Bungard. CS12 later learned that two of the photos were of Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar, the declaration says. Fahad al-Qusa was killed in a U.S. drone strike in Yemen in 2012. On August 23rd, less than 3 weeks before the attacks, the New York FBI agent opened an electronic communication, EC, from FBI headquarters about the photographs. It contained information showing that Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar were in the United States. The declaration does not say it, but it's long been reported that the photos were snapped at the Malaysia al-Qaeda gathering. Yes, that would be right. The agent contacted an FBI analyst at headquarters. The conversation became heated when the analyst told CS12 that she was not authorized to view the electronic communication and that he or she was ordered to delete it immediately. Why? Because the information had been obtained from intelligence sources and that the bureaucratic wall between intelligence and criminal investigations precluded the agent from seeing it. Now, that CIA officer that was meeting with the FBI analyst was Clark Shannon. He was meeting with Steve Bongard. There's another FBI agent there, Dina Corsi. Now, according to the Joint House inquiry, Clark Shannon gave closed-door, non-public testimony, stating that he got orders from George Tenet not to share this information to the FBI. And when the Joint House inquiry, Carl Levin, interviewed George Tenet lied and said, well, that's not what he told me. And Tenet read back the statement to him. And that's when he said, do you disagree with that? And then Tenet said, well, no, I don't disagree with that. Did he tell you something differently, Levin says? And Tenet said, yes, he gave me a different perspective. He sure did. Let's continue. Sorry. Let's continue. The next day, the agent, the analyst, and the acting chief of the FBI's Bin Laden unit met in a 45-minute conference call. During the call, officials at FBI headquarters told CS-12 to stand down and to cease looking for Khalid al-Mihdhar. Why would the FBI do that? And that headquarters was looking to open an intelligence gathering investigation of Mihdhar. The following day, the agent emailed the analyst warning, someone is going to die unless the case against Mihdhar was pursued further. Because Steve Bongard, who wrote that email, said to Dina Corsi that we need to start opening a criminal investigation into a known al-Qaeda operative, Khalid al-Mihdhar, and Nawaf al-Hazmi. They're known al-Qaeda agents, but they just didn't have the information connecting them to Khalid, who they knew as Tawfiq, they didn't know as Tawfiq bin Attash, because the NSA and the CIA, who were listening to the phone calls of the Yemen hub, knew about this name but didn't share it. And with these photos of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi attending the Malaysia Summit meeting, where Tawfiq bin Attash Khalid was there, could have made that connection and then opened up a criminal investigation into al-Mihdhar and al-Hazmi. Immediately after the attacks, FBI headquarters and the New York office met again. It was during this call that CS-12 learned that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were on the flight manifests of one of the planes that were used in the attacks. CS-12 recalls that the conference call then became quite heated between New York agents and headquarters personnel. On September 14th, CS-12 contacted the FBI analyst who produced a fourth photograph from the same surveillance operation. The photo was of Walid bin Attash, who was readily identifiable due to his missing leg. Here he is here. Had the New York agents have been shown that photograph earlier, CS-12 said they would have immediately linked al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar to bin Attash, like I said, a prime suspect in the bombing of the USS Cole. As a result, the inquiry would have been able to devote the full resources of the FBI's New York field office to efforts to find the two hijackers later in the summer of 2001. But the CIA withheld that information. So the NSA, why'd they do that? To turn them? What happened fueled the theory that the CIA didn't tell the FBI that two al-Qaeda terrorists were in the United States to protect their secret plan to recruit Hazmi and al-Mihdhar as informants. Now, if that's the case, if we had to believe that they were going to try to turn them as informants, and it failed, and it relied on Saudi intelligence to do the same because the CIA is not allowed to act, to conduct operations in the U.S., and that the Saudis weren't told, the State Department and the FBI weren't told that Saudi intelligence were involved. Well, now you know why the CIA lied, right? And you know why the State Department wanted to cover this up, because guess who is allied with the United States? Saudi Arabia. Why? Oil. We regulate the oil market. And the hell with your lives and the hell with those who died, because covering up for Saudi Arabia is much more important. This is not me speaking it, right? This is your Department of Justice, not all FBI agents. Okay. We got some good agents here speaking out, trying to blow the whistle on malfeasance by their superiors. People like Robert Wright Jr. out of Chicago, Mark Rossini out of Alex Station, Doug Miller of Alex Station, Ed Getz of Alex Station, Margaret Gillespie, Colleen Rowley, Harry Samet, Minnesota, right there. Ken Williams of Phoenix. There's plenty of FBI good men and women that are out there that try to prevent the attacks if they had the information shared with them and their intelligence, which went largely ignored. Let's continue. One former senior FBI official whose identity is known to me, dubbed CS16, told Canestraro, the FBI's New York City office wasn't told that Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar were in the country until August 26, 2001. And this came from a meeting with the principals, leading members of the intelligence services and the Department of Defense that has people from the State Department like Condoleezza Rice or Colin Powell attending regarding prescient national security matters. And you had Richard Blee, the chief of Alex Station, and Cofer Black, director of the Counterterrorism Center. In fact, no, I'm sorry, not Cofer Black, George Tenet, the director, basically giving an emergency call that he never told before. They never did this before. He was in his car driving to the White House, telling Condoleezza Rice to hold an emergency principals meeting because there was information that the State Department needs to know. And they still withheld the information that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were inside the United States, but that they had U.S. passports. Why did they withhold that? And didn't tell them where they are. Now, either the Saudis knew about this, knew where they were, didn't tell the CIA, or the CIA knew and withheld that from the principals, right? Continue. CS16 stated that the CIA withheld the information that the two hijackers had entered the country in 2000, 16 months, by the way, from the FBI on orders from two CIA employees, Richard Blee and Tom Wilshire. CS16 stated that it was her opinion that the information was withheld as the CIA was attempting to recruit al-Hazmi and or al-Mihdhar as intelligence sources while they were inside the United States. Because back in 1999, when Cofer Black was the newly minted director of the Counterintelligence Center, he basically said that he was aghast that the CIA had no informants inside al-Qaeda, none. And so Tenet basically told Black to basically try and get intelligence inside al-Qaeda or close to it. And it also, too, in 1999-2000, the CIA was working with the leader of the Northern Alliance, Ahmed Shah Massoud in Afghanistan, in obtaining intelligence near al-Qaeda. But Shah Massoud basically told him that al-Qaeda, who were captured, they don't talk. They would rather be killed. Or that they'll die themselves before being captured. FBI agent CS5 said the CIA's reluctance to tell the FBI about the two al-Qaeda figures didn't make any sense to many New York agents and led CS5 to conclude that the CIA was running an intelligence operator targeting al-Qaeda that somehow involved Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar. CS5 believed the CIA operation may have spun out of control and that they came to the FBI in June 2001 with limited information in an attempt to locate the hijackers without revealing the true nature or extent of their operation against al-Qaeda. Yet, Another ex-FBI agent said to have extensive knowledge of counterterrorism and counterintelligence matters stated in June 2021 that the effort to recruit Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar was an operation directed by the CIA. CS-23 told me that the CIA used their liaison relationship with the Saudi intelligence services to conduct an operation on U.S. soil. Bang. Now we know for sure. It's no longer a hypothesis. It's no longer speculation. Here it is. CS-23 told me that the Saudis were used as a go-between as the CIA is forbidden by law to conduct intelligence operations within the U.S. My theory about this was true. I've said this years back, too. The CIA has used its relationship with allied intelligence services to conduct operations inside the United States in the past, the declaration says. Now, if the CIA was relying on the Saudis to obtain information, what if the Saudis basically said, maybe we shouldn't share all the information? Maybe allowing these attacks could happen. A world of possibilities could happen for us, such as Iraq would be blamed, getting rid of the Shia minority in countries like Syria, blame the attacks partly on Iran, another Shia minority, a Shia minority country. Even though the hijackers, most of them came from Saudi Arabia, that the Saudi intelligence operators were working on par with the CIA to collect information without the knowledge of the State Department. Some friend we have in the Gulf, some friend. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Richard Clarke gave a similar account, adding that prior to the attacks, Deputy CIA Director Cofer Black had told him the CIA had no human intelligence sources inside al-Qaeda and that he was determined to change that. Clarke also said neither he nor the FBI was told about Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar because the CIA was running a false flag operation to recruit the hijackers. According to Mr. Clarke, this false flag operation would have involved al-Bayoumi befriending the two hijackers by attempting to convince them that he was sympathetic to their cause. At the same time, al-Bayoumi would have been reporting on the hijackers' activities to Saudi intelligence and ultimately to the CIA. But we don't know that for sure because we don't know if the Saudis gave everything to the CIA. We don't know for sure. Mr. Clarke stated that when he proclaimed this belief publicly, and he did this with an interview with Ray Nolosilski and John Duffy. He received an angry phone call from the former director of the CIA, George Tenet. Mr. Clarke noted, however, that Mr. Tenet did not deny the allegation made by Mr. Clarke. Both Clarke and former Senator Bob Graham were critical of the 9/11 Commission, saying it did not investigate the Saudi connection to the 9/11 attacks completely. Clarke added that the commissioner's executive director, Philip Zelikow, was selected by National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice to prevent damage to the Bush administration by blocking the commission's line of inquiry into the Saudi connection. What a friend we have in Saudi Arabia, right? Here they are, withholding information to the White House. And the White House is covering up for them. Like I said, oil is thicker than blood in this regards. Mr. Clarke told me that the operation to penetrate al-Qaeda may have been organized by high-level employees of the CIA. Mr. Clarke stated that he believed that most of the records of the CIA's operation to penetrate al-Qaeda through al-Bayoumi were destroyed in an effort to cover up the operation, the declaration says. Not surprising, they destroyed the videotapes of torture. An ex-FBI agent, CS3, working under CIA control of the Osama Bin Laden station, also known by the codename Alex Station, after the son of its first chief, discussed how a colleague had prepared a central intelligence report outlining the possible presence of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar in the U.S. CS3 is Mark Rossini. but was not allowed to forward it to the FBI for action. CS3 stated that he or she believed at the time that the CIA prevented the distribution of the Central Intelligence Report, CIR, as the agency did not want the FBI interfering with a CIA operation that was being run domestically in violation of U.S. law. While most criticism in the declaration is directed at CIA, higher-ups at the FBI were also targets of the FBI agents' complaints. An ex-agent in the Bureau's Washington field office, referred to as CS9, was part of a squad tasked with investigating leads developed after the attacks. CS9 told Canestraro that agents were told they were not permitted to interview Saudi nationals in support of their investigation. Excuse me. CS9 stated that many of the leads developed during his or her investigation pointed toward the Saudi diplomats stationed in Washington, D.C. One of them being Musaid al-Jarrah, no relation to Ziad al-Jarrah. Another former FBI agent, CS4, who in the spring of 2002 supervised two other FBI agents assigned to the CIA's Bin Laden station, stated that CS3 approached him or her and said, "Boss, something is bothering me big time. We," meaning the United States government, "could have prevented the 9/11 attacks." CS3 then outlined the CIA intelligence that showed Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar had attended the Malaysia al-Qaeda meeting, that the CIA knew this in January 2001, that both men had well, it's supposed to be January 2000, that's error, that both men had multiple entry visas to the U.S., and that his FBI colleague had written a report on the future hijackers that was not distributed on orders from one of the analysts at UBL station. CS3 gave his supervisor a draft of this report. The supervisor, a male, asked who else knew about it. CS3 said just him and the colleague who wrote it. The supervisor said he then contacted FBI Deputy Director for Counterterrorism, Pascual Del Muro, saying he needed to meet him right away. The supervisor hopped in his car and at a high rate of speed drove to FBI headquarters, where he met with Del Muro and gave him the secret UBL report on al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar. Del Muro read the cable, then told CS4, "I will take care of this," the declaration says. CS4 noted that Del Muro never mentioned the cable's existence again. A short time later, though, CS4 was promoted out of UBL station to a senior liaison position outside the FBI. He hadn't asked for a promotion and told Canestraro he felt he was moved away from UBL station because he knew about the existence of the CIA secret report on Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar. CS4 added he believed he was moved to ensure he kept silent. Ex-FBI agent CS23 said that when the FBI became aware of Omar al-Bayoumy's affiliation with Saudi intelligence and the CIA's recruitment operation through al-Bayoumi after 9/11, senior FBI officials suppressed investigations into the above CS23 and also told me that the FBI agents testifying before Congress joint inquiry into the 9/11 attacks were instructed not to reveal the full extent of Saudi involvement with al-Qaeda, Canestraro's declaration says. The declaration does not say who ordered FBI field agents investigating 9/11 not to interview Saudi nationals or other agents to lie to Congress, or why. That order had to come from up top, the director, Robert Mueller. And I'm pretty sure it also had to come from the assistant director of counterterrorism, Dale Watson. But I'm speculating with Watson. But I'm also speculating, but with conviction, about Mueller. Who else could order that? And where did they get their orders from? The State Department. Probably someone like Condoleezza Rice, telling FBI headquarters, it would embarrass our allies if they're linked to al-Qaeda operatives. Spare them investigation. because that's what it looks like it happens here. And I mean, I'll be reading in the next couple of days. I'll be doing videos about the declaration because what's revealed in the declaration is remarkable. There's a lot of information that I knew about that came from Pent Bomb investigation and Operation Encore investigation, led by the FBI, both investigations. And so, great report by Dan Christensen. Florida Bulldog is one of the best in the country regarding updates on 9/11, and they're sorely they're not represented properly, not acknowledged, and they should be for the great work that Dan Christensen has done. I've interviewed Dan Christensen on my podcast, and that was a fantastic interview. I may want to have another interview with him regarding the latest updates involving this declaration with Canestraro and also the Operation Encore files. There's a lot here. As you can see, not everything stays the same. So to those people out there in the 9/11 truth movement who have questions about hijackers or hijacked planes, well, here we have more information regarding malfeasance and a cover-up of a massive scale. But you don't believe in hijackers or hijacked planes, and none of this information relates to you or interests you. What a shame. But to those out there who aren't lost in fringe conspiracy, here you have more information at our disposal to hold the CIA and now the Saudi Arabian intelligence services accountable for working in conjunction regarding collecting intelligence on 2 known al-Qaeda operatives whose information was kept from the FBI and the State Department on purpose. Have a good night, everybody. See you in the next video.